better race pace than they have in qualifying. Many teams managed to switch their tyres on in qualifying, but Mercedes weren't one of those teams. So they had to make headway in the race, and that's exactly what George Russell was able to do. He started further up on the grid, of course, than his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who didn't even make it into Q3. But yeah, George on the attack straight away here into turn one, and displaces the excellent qualifying performance of Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Next up was the fight with the Alpine. This was a great one again into turn one, still on those medium tyres, and gets past Gasly. Now we're onto the hard tyres. This brilliant onboard shot from the visor cam, gets past Lance Stroll, and he's on the attack, making his way through the field into turn 11. He makes 2 overtakes here, once on Tsunoda and then on Hulkenberg. And then really kindly, Lewis, playing the team game here, lets his teammate pass into turn 12. But this was the genuine pass into 4th place for the race position with Carlos Sainz. Really nicely done by George. He didn't give up, and that's a lesson to anybody if you start in a lower grid position than you expected, to just knuckle down and crack on with your race. So a really well-driven race today by George, and hopefully gives the team a bit of hope for some upgrades coming their way at the next race in Imola. Back to you, Simon.
Yeah, well, I actually want to come back to you if I could, Anne, because yeah, it was a great race by George. It was a very to 6th. What about Ferrari today? Where was the pace on the hard tyre? Were they struggling again to, well, either to get that in the window where it was kind of switched on, or what was their issue?
Well, I think with Ferrari, they've got the complete opposite issue that Mercedes had in this race, Simon. I reckon, you know, they are able to switch their tyre on in this track for lap 1, but then the car's too hard on the tyre throughout the race, so they drop away, and we were seeing that. You know, both drivers in Ferrari, Leclerc and Sainz, they just couldn't manage the rear tyres, where Mercedes seemed quite comfortable in that aspect. So it's just the way your car works those tyres, and that fight I'm really enjoying between Ferrari, Aston Martin and Mercedes. And the Aston seems to be, at this track at least, they were able to switch tyres on in qualifying and have the tyre preservation they needed. But as Christian Horner said, where are those 3 teams compared to the Red Bulls? They're streets ahead, and it's up to the rest of them to play catch up.
Yeah, it still looks really, thanks Anne, it looks like an Achilles heel, doesn't it, for Ferrari, their tyre wear.